The console wars end not in the blaze of glory, but in a simple whimper of a couple of leaks, a few press releases, and the promise of a press conference that nobody's actually going to watch, but everybody's just going to check out recaps of. It's wild, right? To somebody who has grown up his entire life with video games, being at least a tertiary part of it, much more important to my formative years as opposed to my adulthood, mostly because, well, the games that these companies have been pushing out have been absolute trash, most specifically highlighted by the Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League, and Starfield specifically, right? Like, it's been Bethesda and all of these other companies just shoveling the same brand of crap over the past decade and wondering why the audience isn't really that engaged with what they're doing anymore. Like, the repetitivity of Bethesda games, it was really highlighted with Starfield, but everybody with a working pair of eyes kind of seen it back with Skyrim. If we're going to be completely honest, like, their formula was already well established, So them cutting their teeth with Oblivion and really didn't update the formula with, Fallout 3 or with the aforementioned Skyrim, and then it became a little bit more obvious with Fallout 4, and then, the rest of them that just all fell by the wayside, Elder Scrolls Online and Fallout 76. Like, we all knew this was eventually going to happen to Bethesda running that ancient-ass game engine from the late 90s, for Christ's sakes, with a bunch of Band-Aids on it. And then what? The other big Xbox acquisitions, you have Blizzard, which, when was the last time they put out a crowd-pleasing affair? StarCraft 2? That might have been the last one that was, met with wide adulation upon release, because I remember the Diablo, not even Diablo 4, it's borked release. I'm talking Diablo 3 with, what was that, Error 76? And it having problems with always online gameplay, even a decade and change ago at this point, and Overwatch 2's have failed launch, the only game to be canceled after its release. Strange times, but that was Xbox trying to make up for the fact that, well, their own proprietary IPs, when they were ruling the 7th generation, is that with the Xbox 360 and the PS3, when they completely went out to that astronomically large lead after Sony decided to price themselves out of the game at the beginning, back when, the PS3 came out, what was it, $5.99? And the Xbox 360, everybody just overlooked its, 51% failure rate with the red ring of death. But they had the games. They had the promise of Halo 3 on the horizon. They had the launch of this brand new IP, one that we're going to be talking about very shortly. A whole bunch of first-party RPGs. Like, you had Lionhead Studio. You remember Lionhead Studio? Remember Fable games back when they were good? Remember the triumvirate of JRPGs? Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, and I forget the third one. God damn it. There were some good games. There were some really good games in the early part of the life cycle for the Xbox 360. And then when they fumbled the bag by trying to push for the future that we're living in right now, one console cycle too early with the Xbox One, they never ever did recover, but because their parent company, Microsoft, has more money than God, they could just go ahead and make up for all their deficiencies by just buying up everything under the yellow sun. And now you do that over the convening decade, and what do you decide to do? Become the biggest third-party publisher. Strange. You tank your own first-party IPs by farming them out to studios that have no idea what intrinsically made their games compelling to begin with, only to become the aspirational Netflix of gaming. Very strange strategy. So what am I talking about here? If you guys aren't in on the loop on this one, Xbox basically doing away with exclusives. It's not like they really had any to write home with. That's been the entire problem with this 9th generation so far. PS5 has a few exclusives. Most of them are on their way or have already made their way over to the PC. And Xbox, throughout the entirety of the Series X and S life cycle, everything's been simultaneously released on PC, so there's been no reason to go out there and buy one of their $500 bricks. And with the news that their midlife cycle refresh going to be doing away with a disk drive and them laying off 1,900 employees, mostly in their physical release department, the writing was very much on the wall that they want to get out from underneath the middleman and just simply go direct to consumer, which normally wouldn't be such a bad thing. And realistically, I didn't care if Xbox or PlayStation 5 ended up prospering at the end of this. Frankly, I think exclusives are kind of stupid. really, you just want to cast the widest net. You want to be able to put out the best product possible without being limited by any of the mechanical limitations that these little gray boxes that are already 5 years out of date, technologically speaking, by the time that they hit the market. Oh my god, PS5 is going to be so much better because it has an SSD. Meanwhile, everybody's been running M.2 drives on their gaming PCs for, I don't know, the best part of a half decade, but console fanboys will just go ahead and run with everything. I remember back in the cut when, oh my god, there's so much better VRAM that's available on the Xbox 360. But overall, the PS3 is a much more powerful gaming machine. But at the end of the day, by the end of the life cycle, outside of a couple of tertiary releases, nobody could really tell the difference between the two. Meanwhile, PC gamers are just off on the side just going, can we just get away from these whole console things so we could actually, allow the game developers with adequate resources that they're just right now squandering on different, what's the nicest way to put this? Race grifters to come in and completely screw up the writing of their story. Instead of spending millions of dollars capitulating to the hustlers, you could just do that for the development side of things, and we would have beautiful looking games instead of this muddy disaster that Bethesda has been crapping out every couple of years. That'd be fantastic. But if we're done away with console exclusives, if regardless of where you want to play, you will have access to the games, and there will be hopefully moving towards, because this is something that I would be looking forward to, being able to play the same game. Like if you're playing Call of Duty, which is still under the Microsoft umbrella, but that's always been out there and very strange how that works. If you have a friend that's playing that on PlayStation, then you have another friend that's playing it on Steam or wherever it's released. I haven't bought a Call of Duty in a long time. And then another one on Xbox. You guys can all come together like a few other games out there are. Well, that would be fantastic. Just break down those walls for everything. That would be great for the people who like to play online. I'm not one of those people, but that has always been the ideal for gamers that are out there. Because this whole tribalism for plastic bricks for a company, for a multi-billion-dollar company somewhere that doesn't give a lick about your financial well-being, they're just going to continue to try to milk you into the future for every red cent left in your bank account. Yeah, I don't really care. I just can go ahead and do away with that. That'd be fantastic. But it does cause some concern because, well, as Microsoft is doing right here and is making it very apparent by making the likes of Starfield and a lot of Bethesda's upcoming releases a multi-platform affair. Like it says here, Microsoft is reportedly planning to release Starfield on PlayStation 5 as part of a new initiative to bring more Xbox exclusive games to other console platforms, according to Xbox Era, which cites anonymous sources who claim the Bethesda RPG is being planned for release on Sony's console alongside previously rumored Hi-Fi Rush, which is already available, or is it up for pre-order on Steam? I got that little notification for it, so it's like, yeah, that's already over there. And Sea of Thieves, that would be news, but it's another game that, holy shit, it's been out for how long, and they're still limping all of these old games along because, quite frankly, the budgets for these things, they're astronomically out of control. Gaming has been in this problem for a long time. This has been highlighted in Hollywood most recently with the bomb after bomb after bomb in 2023, but gaming has been getting too costly for its own good. Well, this is just the natural evolution of that. They have to recoup their losses somehow because Starfield, if you were even just paying a little bit of attention to the gaming sphere last year, you knew that this thing wasn't going anywhere quick. So I don't know, trying to capture another 10,000, 20,000 sales over on the PS5 in the most lucrative market on PC to go ahead and, mod that to make it a playable, out-of-date piece of work. Like, if nobody's even playing it over there, it's an attempt to just go ahead and build that bridge. So hopefully Bethesda and, well, their more recent announcement, Bethesda's upcoming Indiana Jones game could be another first-party Xbox title to be released on the PlayStation 5. And yeah, if you've seen any of the in-development screens on that one, you know that thing's going to need as much help as it can get because it's coming out from Machine Studios, a name that you might remember if you were playing games back when they were palatable, made the fantastic Wolfenstein New Order and the Old Blood DLC. I love that. That is, oh man, I really have to sit down and think about it, but narrative-driven FPSs, that might be my favorite, full stop. First Wolfenstein of that line is so goddamn good. And then the second one came out, and well, the less said about that, the better. New Colossus is a disaster, but Wolfenstein 1, I cannot recommend highly enough. That game is so goddamn good. But that's kind of like what happened with Rocksteady and Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League. It's just the company in name only. Everybody who made those great games back in the cut are no longer with the company, so they're just puppeting that corpse until eventually it just gets folded into a new studio, and then everybody goes back and goes, oh, what happened to that old studio? Oh yeah, they just, precipitously fell off because their products aren't doing very well. But according to the publication, which we're going to go ahead and cite that source article here in a big second, because there's a couple of updates on this that just moves it from rumor territory to very much happening. Bethesda is considering bringing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle to PS5 following its announcement for Xbox and PC last month. And, well, if you're not excited about what Indiana Jones, which at this point in time, of Dialysis of Destiny, didn't go ahead and kick any of your enthusiasm for the beleaguered IP squarely in the nuts hard enough, just wait until the end of the year. I think it comes out in 2024. We have a chart that we can go over and just take a look at all of the great releases that are on the schedule for Xbox, which when you think about Microsoft Xbox, there are a couple of IPs that immediately come to mind, and one of them specifically, Halo, and how hard that IP has fallen off in recent years. I know I'm not breaking any new ground about talking about that, but holy shit, man. An icon rivaling the popularity of Mario at one point or another. You guys can cast your minds back to the late 2000s, early 2010s, back when Halo 1, 2, 3, even into Reach, right before, even with Halo 4, okay? Halo was right there. It was right there up at the top, and then just the fall off. Holy Christ, how quick that was. So sad, because it's probably, well, there's one other IP that is right up there that I've probably sank more hours into, but when it comes to just fun gameplay, you reach back and you play a Halo, which, thank God, the Master Chief Collection exists and has been out for how long again? There's no new games that are out there that anybody wants to play in the goddamn industry. But because Halo's in the state it is, which is another big reason why Microsoft is just giving up on doing first-party exclusives anymore, because if you announce Halo 6 is coming out, I guess it would be Halo 7, because Infinite, which came out last year, nobody cares. It came out, and it's out. Yeah, exactly. But because a Halo 7 announcement would move tens of consoles at this point in time. There's another IP that's still kind of carrying on in the background, but it's not going to happen anymore, at least in a proprietary sense. Even with the release of, what would that have been, Gears 5? I've got the PC port of it, and I need to play them. I played this is another thing, that original trilogy on the Xbox 360 was perfection. Third person shooter gameplay. Oh my god, like it revolutionized, and all of those idiotic ass games journalists that are out there. Oh, it's just the brown military man shooter. Oh yeah, and now it's the current trend that you see across the entire industry that you guys aren't quite as enthusiastic to cover. The round-faced female protagonist that shoots a bow that has a side shave. Oh, fantastic stuff, great stuff. You never want to point that out with the over-the-shoulder third-person camera. There is far more of those than any of those muscly man third-person brown shooters. Yeah. The story across the original trilogy of Gears of War was fantastic. And I hear good things about 4 and 5. 4 and 5 is what's out. And in a little spin-off game, which I played a little bit of. It's been a long time. But with Cole and, I forget the not Dom white guy. You go along and you play, what the hell? It's not Ascension, that's God of War. Judgment. It was received pretty well. Yeah, if one of the quintessential Xbox 360 era Microsoft IPs makes its way over to PlayStation, I mean, that'd be a good thing. Surprised that, because that used to be an Epic game, but I guess it probably ended up splitting off to, what Epic is over on PC. Why, like, a remastered collection hasn't made its way over onto the Epic Game Store? It's just kind of a strange thing, but Yeah, if they're going to be running that stuff back, that would be fine. But all of the stuff right now is just simple speculation because next week, guys, Microsoft to share details on bringing Xbox games to PlayStation next week. No, we're not waving the white flag. No, that's not what's going on right here. We're just simply broadening our ecosystem or whatever other corporate speak is going to be funneled down on this. Microsoft is planning to share details about its plans to bring Hi-Fi Rush, Starfield, Indiana Jones. What else have I seen out there? It's about everything except for Halo has been bantied about. But yes, bring exclusives to PS5 and Nintendo Switch consoles. Well, that's interesting, according to sources familiar with the Microsoft plans. Oh yeah, like I said at the beginning, the console wars is over. But at this point in time, in a post-GameCube society, like Nintendo's just been over there in the corner doing whatever the hell they want. There's rumors of a Switch 2 coming out, but they would be absolutely ridiculous to do anything about releasing a new console at this point in time. We see how Nintendo follows up their gangbusters success consoles by releasing, well, the Wii U. So you have the biggest install base at a time when everybody's having problems selling first-party games, and that's what you do. What is it? A third of Switch owners own Mario Kart 8. Like, there's nothing else. There's nothing else that Xbox or Sony could even tout. Like, it's not even close. Like, not even a tenth of people that own a PS4 owned Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 was ass, by the way. Thanks, Anita Sarkeesian, for your great input, and Neil Druckmann pushing out Amy Hennig. That's another rant for another time. But Nintendo absolutely killing the game, but they're doing their own thing. They're being Nintendo out there. They're just waiting for them to do something absolutely ridiculous. But anyways, and now Microsoft is getting ready to outline the future of Xbox next week after a weekend of leaks and uncertainty for Xbox fans, which if you're a fan of a game console at this point in time with just the absolute desert of palatable content from first-party developers, it's like, what are you doing at this point? Anyways, we're listening and we hear you, says Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer in a post on X. We've been planning a business update event for next week, and we look forward to sharing more details with you about our vision for the future of Xbox. Yes, it's going to be multi-platform Game Pass, which is another reason I'm really big scared on this one, okay? Because with a big competitor just removing themselves from the market, that's going to put an unregulated price point on games because there's going to be no competition, and competition drives the market in every single venue. So that's a big problem there to begin with. And then you heard those leaks, okay, or the rumors, I guess, associated with GTA 6 costing upwards of $120. Yeah, you can go straight to hell on that one. But games already at a price point where, in Canada specifically, a brand new release, $90? No! Absolutely not. $90 used to be the high end of collector's editions, especially for a game that's just going to be light on content and heavy on messaging. Yeah, I can do without. I could very much do without. That's why I'm praying to the gods in all things holy that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is good. Just please be good. Gotta have my, daily plea to the gods to make that, as good as the first one. But why now, after Microsoft's been making all of these moves, acquiring these different studios? Well, because you should have been able to really pinpoint the disaster with the Xbox Developer Direct that came out at the end of January, where they, had their worldwide reveals of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle and a couple of other forgettable disasters. But just that side-shaved weirdo with the big Bethesda rainbow shirt that everybody online, all the commentators lampooned about, and is like, yeah, no, we already knew it was going to be trash. Already had the mark of failure with current day Bethesda and Machine Games on it. It's like, it wasn't going to be good. Oh yeah, and it's also another installment in the Indiana Jones franchise, not even a year removed of the gigantic failure that was Dial of Destiny. It's like, why would anybody have hope for that? And why would you announce that now of all times? But the announcement of 10,000 jobs being cut was how Microsoft began 2023. And oh yeah, layoffs abound. You should have seen this coming, guys. Really, you should have. Activision, Blizzard being acquired, leading to a lot of redundancies being created, facilitating those layoffs. And finally, not one, not two, but 4 years. 4 years into this console cycle, and finally get some new releases. Like, oh, okay, cool. Oh yeah, take a look at our new exclusives that are coming out. Hellblade 2, Senua's Saga, which I know a lot of people liked Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, but that was a long time ago, and that was kind of a niche game in and of itself. I know a lot of people like it. Sound design is great, and it really delves into mental health, but it doesn't really do anything for me at all. And then a new installment in the Mana series. Okay, but that's out of Square Enix, and we know that they do a lot of stuff, and they're working exceptionally tightly with Sony, and for the most part, everything that they've done, even their old classic library, well, it's out on Steam, and it's on different places as well, so that's interesting. And then you have, Ara, this is the History Untold, Avowed, and then, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. They're all supposed to be coming out in 2024, maybe, potentially. Like, who's excited for any of that stuff? Who's still talking about this? Because this event just happened at the end of January. We're right here at the beginning part. We're a couple of weeks removed from this. Nobody's talking about it. And the reason, and here's another big reason, on top of ballooning budgets where you're hitting $300 million in a development cycle for a game that's going to go out and flop so hard, you have to cope and call all of your critics racist and sexist. It's just, nobody's buying the Xbox Series X, bruh. You take a look at this. You take a look. That's absolutely crazy where we sit right now at the end of 2023. 22.5 million PlayStation 5s are out there on the market. It took them 2 years in order to get sufficient inventory on that goddamn thing, and now not a whole hell of a lot of games that are first party on there, okay? The only reason that I'm looking at getting one is because of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And even still, at least at time of recording, haven't quite pulled the trigger yet because, well, there's nothing else to really do. Final Fantasy 16 is supposed to be getting a PC release likely by the end of the year. And I'm good. I can wait to play that. Nintendo Switch, even still, how long has the Switch been out for? Still moving 16.4 million consoles? That's crazy. And that's why Xbox, who is dwarfed by everybody else, is trying to get on those platforms because they have the install base that's out there, because they move their entire business structure around their pseudo streaming service of Game Pass. And instead of putting out quality content, they're just taking the streaming approach by just putting out content. Go ahead and subscribe so you can go ahead and play all of those old games, which could have went down to those game stores, which we all summarily just, turned our nose up at, and, have an extensive back catalog of games that you can play at your own leisure. No. You can just subscribe for, $20, $30 a month, and you can get intermittent access as long as you continue to pay for a subscription that we hope that you don't really take advantage of, so we don't have to pay for so much bandwidth, and then at the same time, just continue to collect those royalties. It's a crazy precedent that's being set, and know that we already gave up our property rights in the name of convenience, thanks to, previously mentioned PC gaming, now allowing consoles to just ship without a disk drive. We put too much faith in these companies that will just go ahead and dog you out for a quarter if ever given the opportunity. And no, I'm not just talking about the leadership in these places, but we'll have to wait until next week in order to figure out specifically what exactly Xbox is planning to do on this. We have the ideas, we know where they're ultimately going, but how quickly are they getting there? We'll just have to wait and see. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.